Hello, welcome to week 4 of the meditation challenge. My name's Sinhadakini and I've been on the challenge myself. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think people have enjoyed it. One thing that they've said in particular was that they've really enjoyed meditating together. And so I'm here to talk about the Buddhist journey and where do we go next. I'm going to start with a story from the life of the Buddha. So we know that the Buddha wanted to find an answer to human suffering and had embarked on a search. And he tried many different things. And one of the things that was fashionable at that time was austerity. And the Buddha joined a group practicing austerity, and he was very good at it. In fact, you get the impression of the Buddha that when he did something, he really did it. And he got to the point, it's said, that he was living on 1 grain of rice a day. And the leaders of different groups he practiced with even invited him to share the leadership. But there came a point where the Buddha realised that going without food and becoming emaciated wasn't getting him to the answer to human suffering, either something for himself or for other people. And so he decided to take a bit of food, and he felt much better. And when they saw this, his followers, they weren't very impressed at all. They said, "Oh, what's the Buddha doing? He's a leader of this. He's been practicing austerity, and now he's having food." So they ran off and left him. So the Buddha continued on his search, and there comes a stage where he decides to simply meditate. He decides to sit under a tree, probably a sacred tree, probably a very beautiful tree, and he decides he's going to sit there and meditate or die. He was really very, very determined. And so he started to meditate. And he had a memory of himself as a small boy sitting under a tree. It was a rose apple tree. And he remembers watching his father ploughing. His father was a king, or at least a great leader of his people, and he was performing a ceremony of ploughing. And the Buddha remembered feeling totally calm and at peace watching this scene. It came to his mind, even maybe a sense of innocence about it. I often think of an equivalence for us might be watching a scene in the autumn when the fields are all golden and the corn is sort of bright and golden and the sun is sort of very mature and warm. And the Buddha had this sense of sort of wholesome contentment. And he realised there was nothing wrong with this simple, very simple pleasure. And it's from that point that he meditates and in fact does find the answer to human suffering, to the full expression of human potential and awakening that we call enlightenment. But the point is that it came from the natural mind, the natural, even we could say the simple pleasure of a human life or a human heart, that we have everything within us already. If we can just get to that, if we can just uncover that are very human, natural qualities, are qualities of awareness, which we all have, we can all be very unaware, and then we can get to this point where we're suddenly very present. We are very awake for a moment. We lose it, but as we practice, we can develop that. And we all have a very human heart. We all have an inherent tenderness and a wish to care for others, to love others, and to be loved. Over time, that can become covered over, that we need to shield that very sort of tender heart. And so some of those barriers that we construct around that can be very hard to dismantle. But that is part of the practice. So we're developing our awareness and opening the heart, and that is all present in us at any moment. And so the challenges in these in our lives, and in our lives which will always contain trials and tribulations and are full of change and uncertainties at times, how can we remain open and awake and be fully present here in the moment and experience ourselves as part of the world? And if we do that then we will be of benefit to the world. The Buddha's in a vision which unfolded, the early part of it is expressed as humankind as a sea of lotuses. Lotuses, I don't think I've ever seen a lotus, but apparently they grow out of the mud, and they grow right out of the mud. Some of them are tight buds, some of them are completely unfolded, and they will, from the bud stage, they will unfold given the right conditions. And as they unfold, they emit a fragrance, compassion in response to human suffering, which we all suffer in big and small ways, and it's something that we have in common. And from the realization that of what we share in that can open this compassion. Also, as we feel compassion, we are very, very awake. We're at our most human, and at that stage we can be of most benefit to ourselves and others. So those qualities that we need to develop are what we've been practicing this week. We've been practicing the mindfulness of breathing, and we've been practicing the awakening of loving kindness. It's a very gradual process. Buds will open at the right time, and they need the right conditions. But given that open, they will. So what we need to do is just carry on with the practice. We can celebrate what we've achieved, stay in touch so that we can practice together.